He was told he didn't matter. He was told he was replaceable. He was told that if he vanished from the frame, the film would not notice. And yet, out of that dismissal, out of silence, dust, and disbelief, a legend was born. In the early 1960s, Clint Eastwood was not a star. In Hollywood terms, he was barely a calculation. Studio executives knew his name, but not with admiration. They knew his face, but not with excitement. To them, he was a tall, quiet television actor whose career had stalled at the edge of relevance. For years, he had played Rowdy Yates on the TV series Rawhide, riding horses across black and white screens, delivering lines written by others, working steadily but anonymously. It paid the bills. It did not build a future. When Rawhide was canceled in 1965, it felt less like an ending and more like a verdict. Eastwood was in his mid-30s, an age Hollywood often considered dangerous for actors who were not already stars. The industry was changing. Musical spectacles, youth-driven films, and glossy productions dominated studio thinking. Westerns, once the backbone of American cinema, were declared obsolete. The genre that had defined masculine heroism was being quietly escorted out. Eastwood felt the shift immediately. Roles dried up. Auditions led nowhere. Casting directors saw him as stiff, limited, lacking emotional range. Critics had never been kind. One famously said he had two expressions, one with a hat and one without. Another dismissed him as wooden, suggesting that silence was his only talent. Eastwood did not argue. He listened. He learned. He waited. Behind the scenes, however, he was studying something far more important than dialogue: how power worked in Hollywood. He saw how stars were protected, how directors were constrained, how studios controlled narratives both on and off screen. He also saw how easily actors were discarded when trends shifted. Fame, he realized, was not loyalty, it was leverage. Then came an offer that felt almost insulting in its modesty. An Italian production company was casting an American actor for a low-budget Western. The film would be shot in Spain. The director was Sergio Leone, unknown to Eastwood and largely unknown to the American industry. The pay was far below Hollywood standards. The script was thin, unconventional, and strange. Dialogue was sparse. Morality was unclear. The hero was not heroic in any traditional sense. Eastwood hesitated, but not for long. He had nothing to lose. Sergio Leone, meanwhile, had his own battles. Born into a film family in Italy, Leone had grown up surrounded by cinema, but shut out from its elite circles. Italian cinema in the post-war era was divided between neo-realism, serious, socially conscious films, and commercial genre pictures that critics dismissed. Leone wanted something else entirely. He wanted to take the American Western, strip it of its mythology, and rebuild it as something brutal, ironic, and operatic. He did not want heroes, he wanted figures. When Leone met Eastwood, he did not see a leading man. He saw a shape, a face, a stillness. Accounts from the set and later interviews recount a moment that would become legendary. Leone made it clear to Eastwood that he was not interested in star treatment. The film would not revolve around him. The camera would decide everything. At some point, Leone reportedly said words to the effect of, "You're just background. I make stars." To an actor raised in the American studio tradition, where the star was sacred, this could have been humiliating. Eastwood felt the sting, but he did not react. Something in Leone's confidence intrigued him. Leone was not dismissing him personally. He was rejecting the system. Eastwood stayed. The production of A Fistful of Dollars was chaotic and improvised. Budgets were tight. Sets were reused. Actors spoke different languages and would be dubbed later. Leone encouraged exaggeration, silence, and intensity. He framed shots obsessively, lingering on eyes, hands, sweat, dust. Violence was sudden and ugly. Time stretched in confrontations. Music would later be layered over scenes, transforming them into something almost mythic. Eastwood adapted. He reduced his movements. He cut his dialogue to the bone. He learned to let the camera watch him think. Leone gave him a poncho to distinguish his silhouette. Eastwood brought a cigar to occupy the long silences. The squint, partly practical, partly instinctive, became iconic. What emerged on screen was not acting in the traditional sense. It was presence. When A Fistful of Dollars premiered in Italy in 1964, it shocked audiences. It was violent, cynical, and stylized beyond anything European viewers had seen from a Western. Critics were divided. Audiences were not. The film was a massive commercial success. For the first time, Clint Eastwood was not invisible. Leone immediately pushed forward. For a few dollars more expanded the world. The characters became sharper, more symbolic. Eastwood's figure grew more controlled, more distant. Then came The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly in 1966, a film that transcended genre entirely. By this point, the collaboration had become alchemy. Leone's operatic vision, Ennio Morricone's haunting scores, and Eastwood's restrained intensity fused into something timeless. Gunfights became rituals, silence became language. The Western became a canvas for myth-making. Eastwood understood, perhaps more clearly than anyone else, what was happening. He was not being elevated by praise, he was being shaped by discipline. When he returned to Hollywood, he returned changed. American studios wanted the image, but not the philosophy. They wanted Eastwood to repeat the Western formula without understanding what made it work. Eastwood resisted. He chose roles carefully. He paid attention to directors. He began producing, then directing. Dirty Harry in 1971 marked his explosive American breakthrough. The character was controversial, violent, morally ambiguous. Critics were outraged. Audiences responded overwhelmingly. Eastwood had become a star, but on his own terms. As a director, Eastwood applied Leone's lessons ruthlessly. He worked fast. He avoided unnecessary takes. He trusted actors. He valued silence. He believed that emotion was strongest when understated. Over decades, Eastwood dismantled and re-examined his own myth. Unforgiven deconstructed the Western hero. Mystic River explored moral decay. $1 Million Baby confronted pain without sentimentality. Each film bore traces of a lesson learned long ago in the Spanish dust. Sergio Leone did not live to see all of it. He died in 1989. But his influence remained etched into the language of cinema and into Eastwood's career. History often presents success as inevitability, but the truth is more fragile. Clint Eastwood became a legend not because he was told he was special, but because he was told he was not. Because someone believed the film mattered more than the ego. Because silence was allowed to speak. Because rejection became refinement. Cinema remembers many stars. It remembers few legends. And sometimes legends begin as background.